So once again, comrades, revolutionary greetings from wherever you're joining us. We are the Conscious in Study class. We are a group of progressive Pan-Africans who do spend our time to study the philosophy and ideology by Osegafe Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. This is a philosophy and ideology that he actually put down as an African philosophy or Pan-African philosophy for the purpose of decolonizing Africa. And this is after extensive research of Nkrumah trying to get in touch with various philosophy, being exposed to various philosophy, theology, and all those aspects of studies, being that Nkrumah hold a degree or had a degree in philosophy and another degree in theology. So having Nkrumah studied all the way, as some of us know, to the PhD level, he decided now to actually look at all the philosophies. So he examined both the capitalists, he examined other philosophies, including even the Marxism, Leninism, and all those other things. But he came up with what he felt is the best philosophy. If applied and practiced by Africans, it can help decolonize Africa. And some people will tend to say, decolonize Africa. Africa already got independent. But that is not decolonization Nkrumah talks about. Nkrumah takes his father by this philosophy with key three objectives, that decolonization of Africa must entail three things. One, and decolonized Africa must be a totally liberated Africa. Liberated from what? Liberated from neocolonial systems, from neocolonial influences. And as you can see, Africa is still not free from neocolonial interference. Look at it from our education. Go ahead from our politics. Move further from our culture. Proceed to our, even the language you're speaking today is not African language. So those are clear evidence and indication that Africa is not liberating. I know very soon, in this month, we will be discussing the African Liberation Day. We will be celebrating. Some people say it should be Africa Day. The key question is Africa really liberated? To an extent that now we can say we are already liberated. Did independence meant liberation? How about the mental liberation? How about the physical liberation? So this is not yet done. And through this book, Nkrumah prescribe and tackle issues and topics that he gives his thinking as a way forward for us to liberate Africa. Then Nkrumah goes ahead with the second objective, apart from liberation, is the unification. So Nkrumah realized that even if Africa is liberated, until it is totally united, it cannot withstand or it cannot actually overcome their interference by the Western or neocolonial systems. So a totally liberated Africa must be now totally united, so that with one strong continental government for Africa, the African government as one, without these semi-autonomous or these small pocket countries, then the liberation of Africa is at danger. So to preserve the liberation of Africa, once a territory is liberated, it must be united. So a continent of Africa must be united into one continent, so that then Africa can actually react.
Brother Pigeon, we can't hear you. Can anyone hear him? Because I can't.
Welcome aboard the Southern Service.
Yeah, we cannot hear him.
All right. So I'll continue until he comes back. So so what we normally do is we read the text and then we share our we read the text and then we share our thinking. So as his page has also gone off, I'll share mine and then we'll take it from there. So I'm sharing the page. I'm scrolling down to where I think
Yes,
we should be. So I think it's somewhere here.
so thank you.
So as Brother Pigeon was explaining, Yeah. So what we do is we read and then we share our thinking. And Brother Pigeon was giving a kind of overview of where we are. The other thing I will also add is that let's bear in mind that capitalism, socialism, and so on, they are not really ideologies. They are what we call instruments of ideology. But ideology, there are only two main ideologies. That is from our perspective. So they are idealism and materialism. Those are the only two world ideologies. Um, Marxism is a form of materialism, if you like, and it's part of what we call Western ideology. And there are four main Western ideologies. They are conservatism, liberalism. Sorry about the time announcement. So conservatism, liberalism, Marxism itself is one of the Western ideology, and then finally, what is also called social reformism. Some people call it. Some people mistakenly call it social capitalism, but it's not. It's a version of liberalism. Anyway, so let's bear that in mind. So let's read the text and then we share our thinking. Brother Pigeon, I believe we got to the history of Greek philosophy. Is that correct?
Yes, that's where we'll be starting.
Excellent. So if we can read that, so if we can read that, that would be great. Yeah, I'm going to mute myself. I don't want to hear all this announcement.
Okay, permit me to read it. We are losing you a bit. So let me read it. Let me guide. So in our class, we ask, as you have said, members to share their thinking. But what to do, we read. So we have been reading this book. We are continuing the reading until we read the end of the book. So here we read the word from the chapter, The History of Greek Democracy. And we ask any member within our class who is willing to read for us to kindly read for us. Once we've read the chapter, we ask you to share what do you think? How do you understand it? That's what we do here, so that you can be able to critically develop your own thinking and your own understanding. So anybody amongst us who is ready to start reading for us from the paragraph, The History of Greek Democracy.
Yeah, but why don't you start for us?
Okay, thank you. So the paragraph starts and says, is a continuation, that the history of Greek democracy, for example, must really be traced to Thales. Thales spearheaded two revolutions. The first revolution matured in his attempt to explain nature in terms of nature. The second revolution consisted in his belief that the unity of nature consisted not in its being, but in its materiality. That's the paragraph for our reading today. Brother Kwame, maybe you might have to explain to members again who is Thales. Just a reminder. I can't hear you. You're muted. Okay, so we have come across Thales.
Yeah, sorry. I was waiting for the announcement to stop. Yeah. So briefly, Thales was a Greek philosopher, and who said that, who explained that water was the basis of the universe. And yeah, so that's what he said. So that was his position. What is important for us is that Thales was attempting to explain the universe in terms of matter, because water is matter. Because remember that the opposing philosophy to materialism is idealism, and idealism holds that the universe is made up of spirits and their ideas. So Thales, in effect, was challenging that view. So in short, Thales was a Greek philosopher, and that's what you said. Thanks.
So, comrades, how do you understand the paragraph? Basically, that brief paragraph, what are you understanding out of this? And if there's need to continue and connect it, we will, but we start by asking you, is there anything you're understanding out of this? So I call you, and I call your name. You tell me whether there's something you can still build on as you're thinking on this. If you're not, you just tell me that pass. Because what you're interested is you are understanding, you are thinking. How do you think? That's what you're interested in. So if you're not in a position, just tell me pass, I'll go to the next person. So let me start by Comrade David.
Brother Pigeon. Brother Pigeon. Bear in mind,
Yes.
bear in mind that, hold on.
Okay.
Bear in mind that thinking and understanding are two different things. Someone can have a thinking about a paragraph, but may not necessarily understand it. So we are not saying that people should only share if they understand what they are reading. We are asking people to share their thinking, whatever the thinking is, because everybody has a right to think for themselves. And we encourage Africans with respect to philosophy and ideology. It doesn't mean that they may understand. It doesn't even mean that what they are thinking is correct. But you have a right to think. You recall that, Pigeon, you recall that we were denied thinking. They said we couldn't think. They said because we were African. In fact, even if we think, we didn't think like human beings. And so because of the racist views people held. So I just want to make that clear. Thinking and understanding are two different things. We're not asking people to only share if they understand what they are reading. We're just asking people to share their thinking. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. So just remember to make me a co-host again. Thank you. So let's get to Brother David Makema. Comrade, are you able to share your thinking?
Yeah, good evening. Yeah, if we go a little back to the previous paragraph, it says philosophy attempted to provide principles which should inform any political theory. And in the last sentence, they say, at every stage between Thales and modern times, philosophy was firmly geared onto what were, for the time being, conceived as primary concerns of life. Now, when it comes to this paragraph that we have just read, they say Thales spearheaded two revolutions. The first revolution matured in his attempt to explain nature in terms of nature. Now, this is where I get confused and explain nature in terms of nature. And in the previous paragraph, we learned that the attempt or the purpose of philosophy is to inform the political theory or to conceive primary concerns of life. If I can be helped to understand the nature in terms of nature. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. We will come to that once we get other people's thinking. Maybe along the way, some people can also build on that and see how we build our thinking. That's what we do. So let me get to Comrade or Sister Myra.
I think I'm going to have to listen more or to understand, maybe to listen to others to understand the paragraph more. But I think he's talking about, he's saying that Thales spearheaded two revolutions of knowledge, and these revolutions formed part of the foundation of Greek democracy. And then So the first one, it says, in his attempt to explain nature in terms of nature, I'll join the previous speaker to say, it would be good to get some explanation of what that means. And then in the second sentence, I'm also confused by that one. So in his belief that the unity of nature consisted not in its being, but in its materiality, is he saying that that everything comes from nature and, sorry, everything is materialism, and therefore that's the unity, that because everything is made from the same material? So I have more questions than answers, really. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Comrade Carrington. Brother Carrington. Okay. Since Brother Carrington is not in a position to speak, if you're able, just let me know later. Comrade Michael.
Yes, I have to pass at the moment.
Okay, thank you. Comrade Carrington.
Yeah, I think I'm okay now. Can you hear me?
Yes, just you are shaky a bit, but you're okay.
Okay. I hope I can be heard clearly. Sorry about that. So
now you are clear.
David is essentially correct in taking us back to the previous paragraph, talking about philosophy and its role in social organization. And this is what the Osajefo is trying to trace, the role of philosophy in social organization from the beginnings of actually the very, very early beginnings of Greek society, at least recorded beginnings of Greek society. Now, to understand this point, let us look at Greek democracy. What really does that mean? Greek democracy implies the ability of a public to have a say in the governance of their affairs. It's just as simple. Democracy boils down to that. The ability of a public to have a say in the governance of their affairs, okay? So, on what basis, on what philosophical basis would you construct such a society? Let's say, were you to construct such a society? Religion, and other metaphysical systems, spiritualism, has the capacity to invest the power of social organization amongst a specific class. It could be the aristocracy, it could be the theological class, it could be the spiritual class, it could be the king, the queen, etc. However, when you come into a society where there is philosophical investigations, and we will get to this point, of naturalism. Naturalism is the philosophy of investigating nature in terms of nature. What this means is very simple, is that there are no supernatural or supranatural explanations for natural phenomena. If it rains, it's because that water has come from somewhere. If there's a river, that river has come from somewhere. It has come from a hill. And this hill has also come from somewhere. And that it is the responsibility of the educated or members of the society to understand the natural basis of such phenomena. So explaining nature using nature, that there are no supernatural explanations for natural phenomena. Okay. Similarly, by the way, it is the same for society, that any relative power, any relative prestige, any relative lack of power or lack of prestige that exists in these societies, any slave societies, any liberated societies, the explanations for the state of the society are therefore entirely natural. And therefore, the distributions of power in such societies are natural. And this implies that everyone ought to have a say, i.e., this there is no justification for these hierarchies in terms of supernatural beings, supernatural beliefs. Therefore, it means that anyone can challenge these positions, and this has the tendency, according to the current analysis of the SAGEFO, if I'm not wrong, to drive democracy into societies. I do not understand the final statement, the belief that the unity of nature consisted not in its being, but in its materiality. But I guess it is just driving this point home of materialism, of the universe being entirely made out of matter, physical, tangible, manipulable matter. But I guess this will be clarified with other perspectives. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for that, comrade. Thank you very much. Comrade Taiwo?
Thank you, sir. I am new to this group. I was invited by a gentleman called Sean, and although I'm joining you midway while you're reading this, I have been familiar with Pan-Africanism, even though I don't fully understand it, as well as other constructs. While I don't specifically have question on what has been read, my question to the group is in the prologue to the conversation, there was talk about two things that I picked up upon, which is that African liberation is not complete and that Africa needs to be unified. And those two things are areas that I have studied looking at other civilizations, the Americans, the Europeans, the Asians. And the question I always have, which I'm not sure whether is the right time to ask this question, is those societies, their form of unity is quite different. They don't have one political government the way that I assume it has been advocated for African unification, political unification. Neither do the Japanese, the Chinese, the Indonesians, the Vietnamese, the Koreans. They don't have a unified political government. And so I'm asking, even Europe, the EU, they're still independent ethno-linguistic nations. I believe 75% of EU members have majority ethno-linguistic group in each country. So I'm wondering what the practicality of this unification is, if it's achievable, and whether we have to answer that question first before we begin to study deeply this topic of conscientism. So that is where I am coming from.
Thank you.
Do we already believe? That it is practical and achievable, and is that why we're studying it? Or do we want to answer that question first? And do we also believe that liberation of Africa can be complete without also getting rid of the colonial borders and having a form of alliances as opposed to unification? Because during pre-colonial times, if Africa were to be unified, it would have to be through conquest. There would have to be an African kingdom that is warlike, that will have to unify all of us. And so how do we expect that to be achieved post-colonialism? So those are the questions I have for me to deeply involve myself in this study. I need to answer those questions first. Is this achievable? Is it practical? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for joining us, and we appreciate your presence. Indeed, those questions are answered in the next chapters. And therefore, what Nkrumah did was actually to take you back from your understanding. It takes us, first of all, do we have a common understanding from the origin of universe? He does the chapter 1, what he says, the philosophy in retrospect. Let's start, first of all, with your own understanding of the universe. How do you understand it? What is it made up of? Because if you build your understanding from how you understand the universe, and this chapter 2 takes us now philosophy of the society. How do you understand your society? Then that way you can be conscious enough. If you approach the next chapters now talk about the unification and the liberation on how you propose it, you at least have a background understanding on how do your perspectives on how you see the universe change. Because the big thing is based on how you see the universe, how you view it. Either you're an idealist or materialist will inform how do you want to unite it or liberate it. So it takes us back, first of all, to start with the society. How did this universe came to be? From your understanding on a Pan-African angle. How do you tackle issues of religion and the rest of the things? Issues of idealism and materialism. How do you understand that? Once we are done with that chapter 1, it takes you now to the society. How do you understand your society in terms of philosophical aspect? How is your society conforming? How is your society set up? How do you build a different thinking on your societal aspect than the thinking you're exposed to? And then now it will take you later to now the philosophy. We have not even started the philosophy. Chapter 4 talks about philosophy itself. You see, it goes to chapter 5 in development. Now, how do you put development in the last part of it? So this is actually the genesis that is always missing in our struggle for liberation. Because you approach liberation and unification without having a common understanding, first of all, where are we coming from? What is our common point of where we come from? So we come from different fields. Some are idealists and they want the liberation or unification. Some are materialists, they want the same. So we don't actually have a common approach in this because we have not agreed on a common start of how do you view the universe started to be, how do you view our society is or started to be, before now we talk about how do you liberate Africa. But of course, the liberation of Africa is not yet. And maybe permit me if you got that wrong from my side. That's why I said that the independence of Africa did not mean the liberation of Africa. And Nkrumah goes extra mile to even give the characteristic of what is a liberated territory. That's in the last chapters, in chapter 4 and chapter 5. What is a liberated territory? How does it look like? Then he recommends how now a liberated territory must unite with another liberated territory to make a united force. So the unity comes then in another aspect. So all these have been captured, but in a systematical understanding. And what is missing, as you're saying, is where do we start our argument? Where do we start our thinking before we reach the liberation of struggle? Because where we stand informs how we approach it. And this is where Nkrumah comes in. But Brother Kwame, permit me to allow you maybe to come in a bit, even though it's off the chapter, but it's very important.
Yeah, it's important. Brother Taiwo reminds me of, what's that brother's name from Sierra Leone? Brother from Sierra Leone who wanted certain questions answered. Do you remember?
Brother Jojo?
No, Jojo, the other one.
Oh.
So he came in. So anyway, the brother has asked a lot of questions, and to answer his questions will take the entire session, the entire session, and even the session will not be enough because others will then want to chip in. So I think that's how you have to make up your mind whether or not you want to be part of a philosophical discussion that attempts to answer those questions. If you ask a woman, you meet a woman, that you want to marry, you can ask the woman a few questions and then arrive at the conclusion that she's a good woman for you to marry, and vice versa. If you are a woman, you want to marry a man, you meet a man and you say, well, I have questions for you. The questions are 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you answer them very well, then I think you are the woman, they are the man or the woman for me. I think you have to go into a relationship and build up that relationship, date the woman or date the man, study the man's behavior, and then after a while, come to the conclusion that that woman or that man is for you. So I'm afraid, Brother Taiwo, the way you have approached it is hard for us. It will be hard for us to convince you because it's as if you are saying to a woman, well, I want to marry you, but I have these questions, and if you can't answer them,
Sorry, we are
then
losing
I'm sorry.
Brother Kwame. Maybe in terms of his audio having some
Yeah,
issues.
yeah, okay.
Kwame, we are losing.
Yeah, I'm just pausing for now because of the announcements.
Okay. Okay. So
Yeah.
let's
So
yes.
yeah. So Brother Taiwo, you said a lot. You know, as you were speaking, so many things went through my mind, and if I want to respond, it will take a chunk of the time because we're almost hitting 8 o'clock. But what I would say, am I clear, Brother Pigeon? Am I clear?
You are clear, Brother Kwame.
Okay. What I would say is that you have already arrived at a philosophical position from what you have told us. You have arrived at a philosophical position that Africa can't unite and that Africa must remain balkanized. And that only if Africa is balkanized with alliances will Africa achieve whatever it is you think Africa should achieve. You've mentioned China and other territories. I'm not sure how you look at them. You've mentioned China as not having one government. I don't understand how you could have said that when you know that China is run by one party. It's a one-party state run by one communist government. And the territories of China, some of the countries in Europe are like districts in China and so on. So it would be nice to hear from you how you arrive at the position that somehow China is not one, doesn't have one government, one central government. Because when we say that Africa must be united, we are saying Africa must have one central government. That is not to say that there will not be regional governments and so on. Now, we know that China has a central government. You are saying it doesn't. So it'd be nice to hear from you so you can educate us on how China does not have a central government. And China's population is similar to the population of Africa as a whole. It's just that we have a bigger territory. Our territory is bigger than China. But in terms of population, China is just slightly above us. We are about 1.3. Is that correct, Pigeon? About 1.3, and China is about 1.4.
No, 1.5. We are close.
So China is 1.5, and we are about 1.3. So in terms of population, not a lot of difference. Sorry. Yeah, go on.
China is 1.4.
So China is about 1.5. Yeah.
1.48. We are 1.46.
Oh, yeah, that's about 1.5. Yeah. And Africa?
1.46.
And Africa is 1.46. So that's a lot of difference. And yet China, even given its population, has one central government.
Of course, that's the same with India. But this discussion on unification of... Sorry, I'm losing you. Okay. Brother Kwame, we are losing you. So kindly just let him know that we are losing you. What I wanted to say, Brother Kwame, work on your mic so that you can join us. What I wanted to say is that we have a class dedicated for unification of Africa. If you want us to engage this extensively, every Saturday we discuss all aspects of unification of Africa. And we present...
coming back to the point, what I'm saying is that, brother, you are not neutral. Revealed it. You will feel that Africa cannot use. So let's, and if we are going to answer, is that Brother Pigeon maybe contact Brother Taiwo so he puts it in writing, and then we will come up with a concurrent composition. Because I think the questions he's asking are questions that we must have answers for anyway when people come and ask us. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, that we have a class. We have a class on Saturday dedicated on that aspect of unification.
Yeah, so maybe he can attend that class. But what I want Brother Taiwo to be clear about is that he has a philosophical position. Because when you say what he said about Africa and so on, then that's a philosophical position. So what I'll be interested in is, how did you arrive at that philosophical position? You need to share that with us, because we know in this class that there are Africans, Pan-Africanists, who are liberal Pan-Africanists. Yeah? Even if they want unity, they want the unity of the market. They're not really interested in a unified government. What they want is a unified market. They want just Africa to be one big market, like a common market, so that they trade. Those are liberal Pan-Africanists. Yeah. Then we also have the conservative Pan-Africanists, who also don't really want any unity. They want to be presidents of small territories in Africa, the 55. And then what they want is to control all the resources for only themselves and maybe their immediate family, like Swaziland is doing, or like Morocco is doing, and others. And so those Brother Taiwo, are conservative Pan-Africanists. So not everybody who calls themselves Pan-Africanists. We are not all the same. We here are what you would call radical Pan-Africanists, meaning that for us, we don't believe in the Pan-Africanism of the liberals, as the liberal Pan-Africanists, and we don't believe in the Pan-Africanism of the conservatives. We believe in the Pan-Africanism of the majority. We believe that the welfare of the people is a supreme law. Therefore, Africa must be organized so that its resources will be used for the benefit of the majority of Africans, not a minority as the liberals want, or a single individual or a small family as the conservatives want. So our philosophical position, yes.
I wanted to say that thank you for that. Of course, you've taken time to explain it, even though it was out of the context of our reading.
Yeah.
But you can go ahead and maybe...
I just wanted to end by saying that position of Africa's unification and its development, because it is unified, and hence, if it's unified, it's liberated. Yeah. By the time that philosophical position is informed by our materialist philosophy, which is that all human beings have the same origin. Therefore, nobody has the right to lord it over somebody else. So I will pause there on that question. Share your questions with Brother Pigeon, and then we will come up with a more a written answer for you, if that will satisfy you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, Brother Pigeon. The other thing I want to say is to comment on a few things. Just one more thing.
Okay.
Brother Carrington defined
We are losing you again, Brother Kwame. Brother Kwame, your network is not good with us, so we are losing you. Kindly come back when you're in a position to do so. Okay. So let's proceed a bit by saying that Brother Kwame will be coming in later. Basically, Brother Taiwo, we have a Saturday class, and this class is for unification of Africa. That's why we started it. And we discuss all parameters that makes Africa possible for unification. We do statistical research in terms of data, numbers, and all aspects. We do resource, people, and everything. So on Saturdays, we will invite you to our class, which is that consciousness class, so
Brother
that you
Pigeon.
can share your thinking with us. Yes, Brother Kwame.
Brother Pigeon.
Yes.
I'm going to get off the train to make.
Okay, just make me the host. Okay, thank you. So I'll do the rest. Make me the host before you leave. Then I'll do the rest.
Hold on. Brother, I'll make Brother Carrington a co-host.
Sister Ida is here. And Sister Ida and Sister Maida. Okay, that's okay. So we can proceed.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So Pigeon, you are now host. Yeah. Okay. Let me make you host, and then that's it. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
I join you on the other end. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So let's proceed, comments. I'll be sharing the screen for our reading page. What I want us to continue with is let's proceed with the reading today. Any topic in regards to the unifications and the topics our brother Taiwa have asked have actually been noted, and we are willing to provide that answer in written and to share our perspectives as well. But ours will be from a philosophical angle on how we give our answer in regards to that. And we welcome him or anybody interested to join our Saturday class where it's purely for unification. So we check all optics, including religion, population, everything else in order to arrive at that decision. We are equally also working on a framework of unification of Africa. We call it the United Nations of Africa framework, where we have analyzed all the communities, the clans, the tribes, and everything else. We've analyzed that. And we've come with a proposal on how that should be done. So it's not that we only talk about it, but from a philosophical class, we've been able to develop a model that then we can be able to share later as how it can practically be done. I know it's been over 60 years, but it's only the will, the political will that misses. If it can be there, everything else is possible. The reason why we are where we are is lack of the political will. Basically, that's the only simplest thing. And we know it's affected by either the external forces. So let's proceed with this reading. The reading I've read is, as I repeat it again, the paragraph starts with the history of Greek democracy, for example, must really be traced to the Thales or Thales. Thales spearheaded two revolutions. The first revolution matured in its attempt to explain nature in terms of nature. The second revolution consisted in its belief that the unity of nature consisted not in its being, but in its materiality. And this, as we've been said, Thales was a materialist philosopher, while Berkeley was an idealist philosopher. A materialist philosopher is a philosopher who then believes that the unity of Africa or the nature of the world is matter, material. Well, an idealist believes that the universe is made of ideas and spirits, and that the ideas and spirits is what control the world. Some spirits and some supernatural forces, as Brother Carrington has explained it. So Brother Carrington has put it very clearly that when he tried to explain that everything in the universe can be explained in terms of nature and natural processes. For example, if it rains, you have not to say that either God is urinating or there's an aspect of some God blessing the people, but you can explain how rain can be formed through natural processes. If in case there's drought, you can explain it through natural processes. In case there's an accident or death, you can use natural processes to explain those natural activities that happen in the universe. And now when he says this other aspect where Carrington says that, then that the second revolution consisted in the belief that the unity of nature consisted not in its being as nature, but its materiality. And material, when you talk of material or matter, we will explain matter in different forms, both from the primary matter to the secondary and any other forms of matter. So the nature of the universe is based on matter. Matter here will include people, land, animal, trees, everything else, including the air we breathe. That is what we call in its materiality. So the universe can only be unified based on the unity of everything here in this universe, from the space, breath, water, people. That is what I am understanding from here. So let me go along the list and ask you to share your thinking as well. So feel free to share your thinking or anything else you want to raise. So Brother Michael said first. I don't know if he has time now to say something, but Sister Myra also explained something. Brother David had also shared his thinking. Brother Carrington, the same. Let me get to Sister Ida. Sister Ida, are you able to share your thinking with us? I know you've joined us just now. Then I go to Angela.
I think I'll wait a little bit, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Brother Angela? Brother Angela's mic is not connected. David Makama, you wanted to come back. Hope is in regards to the paragraph. Kindly feel free. If it's in regard to the unification, you can push it to Saturday.
No, it can be taken to Saturday because I feel Brother Taua has a valid point. If we take into consideration the exact current situations that or developments that are happening in Africa, you take DRC, you take every country in the continent, there are some serious challenges, and therefore you don't just bring opposing or disunited ideas into one pot and hope to give us a delicious stew, of the whole pot. You need to do some groundwork, So let us leave it for Saturday, and then we'll take it from there. But it is important to know that we are not homogeneous, and there are some spade works to be done in each and every country.
Thank you.
And identify the commons and the uncommons so that we can be focused. Thank you.
Thank you. Nkrumah said that the forces that unite us outweighs the forces that divides us. It's a matter of us to identify the forces that unite us and take use of it. We also understand the aspect of dialectics, the negative and positive forces, which is explained in this book further. What is a negative force and a positive forces, and how do you overcome a negative force to improve the positive forces? Those are what will come in other chapters. And the positive forces is what we call the revolutionary forces, while the negative forces is what we call the counter-revolutionary forces. Those forces that are against the revolution are negative forces. And as we are in Africa today, the negative forces outweighs the positive forces. There are so many forces that are against the revolution of Africa. So the process on winning such forces have been extensively also explained in this book in further chapters, how we increase the positive forces and reduce the negative forces. So here is just the beginning. How do you understand your universe? How do you understand the society as you build up that thinking? So permit us to go slowly like that, then build it together so that we can be able to arrive at a proper decision later. So, Brother Carrington, is there anything you want to come back to in regards to this paragraph before we move to the next paragraph?
I don't think so. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. So let's proceed to the next paragraph. Having that everybody here have asked them to share their thinking, unless you think like you should come back again and share your thinking. Once Brother Kwame will be joining us, you'll be able to connect further in his own thinking. So the next paragraph proceeds then, and it says that the social milieu in which Thales lived encouraged him to insist on explaining nature in terms of nature. It's either at the Ionia where he lived, political power was becoming entrenched in the hands of mercantile class, which had a vested interest in the development of nautical techniques and techniques of production. For it was on such techniques that their prosperity hinged, more so when their society later became more family based on slave labor. The Greeks, as Xenophon confirms in his economics, came to regard mechanical arts with content. But in Thales' time, individuals, including philosophers, depended more on their own productivity for sustenance. Indeed, during one particular good olive harvest, Thales astutely cornered the available olive presses in Miletus and subsequently hired them out at exorbitant rates. Owing to the changes in the structure of society, whereby social political hegemony passed into the hands of mercantile oligarchy, prosperity no longer depended on a crucial way on appropriation of the gods in connection with agriculture. It depended on commerce with its ancillaries, whereby the Ionian products were marketed along and across the Mediterranean. That's the continuation of our reading. So let me make all paragraphs in the same page so that you can see all of them. So we are continuing with our conversation. So feel free to share your thinking as well. What do you understand? What's your thinking in regards to the paragraph you've read? So we've connected the history and now to this second paragraph. What are you getting out of this? Let me start with you, Brother Carrington.
Thank you very much, Brother
Carrington?
PJ. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but he doesn't seem to be able to hear you.
Yes, clearly.
Oh, okay. So
yes,
the first
I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. The first consideration that we need to take into account is that now Kwame Nkrumah is trying to analyze the social conditions of the operation of Thales of Miletus. Now, a little bit of history. Greece is not a country in this period. It is a collection of small city-states scattered alongside some land that is close to the Mediterranean. The Mediterranean is very interesting because it connects Egypt, it connects the Middle East, it connects
Brother
Europe.
Carrington, we are losing you a bit in and out, but just proceed.
I think it's from your side, Brother Pigeon, but I might be wrong. Can everyone else?
We can hear him very well, Brother Pigeon.
Yeah.
Brother,
we can hear him well.
Okay, I'll just go on and then
proceed.
Okay. So these small city-states scattered on the Mediterranean are what you call Greece in some specific part, the Southern European sort of part, Southeast European part of the Mediterranean world. And remember, North Africa is part of the Mediterranean world. So because of this, Miletus develops as a port, develops as a very powerful trading city-state in this period before the rise of Athens. And Miletus becomes powerful and rich because of trading. And what we mean when we say Miletus becomes powerful and rich is that the merchant class, some of you have read Merchant of Venice, etc. The merchant class in Miletus takes control of the economic power of the city-state. And therefore, this weakens the aristocratic and theological class. And therefore, this allows a little bit of plasticity in the society where people start divorcing themselves. They do not stop worshiping their gods, Jupiter, etc., but they divorce themselves a little bit from explaining, especially the educated mercantile class divorces themselves from explaining everything in terms of the gods and they start realizing, understanding the laws of nature and society. Thales of Miletus is one of these individuals. He realizes that if there is a bumper harvest of olives, if I have monopoly control over all olive pressing sort of sites in Miletus, all the farmers are going to have to depend on me to press their olives to extract wine or whatever it is they were extracting out of the olives. And therefore, any bumper harvest of olives must precede high demand for olive pressing things. And he ends up making a lot of money just purely by this observation, this economic, material observation. And Thales of Miletus becomes a very, very prominent philosopher and thinker. This apart for those of you who have studied his philosophy more than I have. These are part of the pre-Socratics, the philosophers who came before Socrates in Greece. So what the primary message that Osajefo is giving here, according to my understanding, is that very, very simply, that there is a shift beginning in this small Greek city-state. There's a shift towards analyzing the materiality of thinking. There's a shift to materialism in thinking because of a shift to materialism in society, explaining the prosperity, the poverty, the prospects of society entirely on the basis of material or on the basis of the tangible. So this is the big idea of this paragraph. Thank you.
Yeah, just on that, I won't say much, but
Thank you very
from
much.
that paragraph,
Can you hear me?
Yes, but there's a delay. David was speaking.
yeah, I was saying that we also
Okay.
learned that. Hello, can you hear me now? Hello.
Brother Pigeon is a minute or two behind us. We can hear you.
Okay.
Please continue.
Yes.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that I agree. We seem to see economic development in that city of my lectures. There's an economic development, and through this monopoly or economic development, we see that it is also family based on slave labor. Now there's a sudden change in society where there is this mercantile class is in monopoly, and they also rely on the slave labor. That's what I see in that paragraph. Thanks.
Brother Pigeon, are you there?
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello, Side, you can let me share the class, please.
Okay. Let me see who else is on. Is there anybody who wants to go next? Let me see.
Next person.
Sister Myra, do you want to go next?
I think he's talking about like Brother Carrington explained, it was that time when there was a change in society from a society that was based on trying to understand the gods and favors from the gods for healthy harvests, whatever, to a time where it shifted to a more mercantile society of profit that was based off of exploitation, slavery, and I see kind of like the beginnings of the early beginnings of capitalism. Sorry, but then I'm just wondering, how does that connect to the statement explaining nature in terms of nature? Is Thales trying to say that it was natural for man to be exploited by other men, and that's the natural order? That's what I'm struggling to connect.
Can you tell us where you see that bit?
The first sentence: the social milieu in which Thales lived encouraged him to insist on explaining nature in terms of nature. Then the rest of the paragraph is explaining this shift from God philosophy to profit philosophy. So, but then I'm trying to connect how does that, how I understand this development, this new shift in society, this new shift in philosophy, but how is that connecting to explaining nature? How did that encourage Thales to explain nature in terms of nature? Thank you.
Thank you. Let me see who else is on. Sorry. Brother Sam, do you want to try? and say what you think you've heard from it or see in the paragraphs. Thank you.
Well, you can actually forgive me. I just joined not too long
Oh,
ago, so I'm
sorry.
catching the spirit. Yeah, so I'll just keep
Okay.
listening. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Brother David, are you about? Do you think you could maybe say what you see in the paragraph?
No, I've already said that I also
Oh, yes,
noticed the
sorry.
change in society.
Yes.
Yes. And
Yeah.
I also agree. What is this nature of nature that Thales was speaking about? Was it now justifying a class ruling or exploiting another class? Is it how he saw materialism out of nature and nature? Sorry,
Okay.
that's that is.
Okay, wonderful. Brother Tayo, do you want to have a go?
I have no comments at this time. Thank you.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Brother Pigeon, are you with us? Brother Pigeon, are you with us? Okay, in that case, it's me, and I can only give my own opinion, which who's L? L.
Sister, come here.
Yeah, Brother Pigeon, do you want to give your opinion?
I'll preserve it a bit, but yes, what I can share, if you can hear me clearly.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, I think it's very interesting what Thales was trying to do here by either showing this aspect which brother Carrington has talked about. You see, on using example of this olive, and how he wanted to control it, and how that control could then give him that socio-political the power, and what actually is trying to study also how the oligarchs actually got into their power, where either control of some few resources or some few aspects. As you see, he was now analyzing the Greek economics, you see. And that then basically tells us, of course, as other people have also alluded here, the aspect of capitalism, the control of some resources, which is actually contrary to what we understood or what we accept as the control of resources to belong to everybody else. So there's a group of, or a class of people here who try to control some resources within this society by that time. And then actually, Thales wanted to prove that how that control of such resources could make these people then pass over or make these people to be of higher class within a society. And I think somebody is alluding, maybe he was trying to analyze the capitalism at this particular moment. And maybe we'll have to understand later why he was trying to bring this concept at this particular moment and for what purpose was it for. But it's also actually coming very clearly that then it shows very well that majority of those who thrive in capitalist system either thrive because of control of economics, which means the resources for production, you see, and that makes them be of higher class. And that becomes then contrary to what the materialists believe, that the resources and everybody has is equal, and therefore there should be not this class thing of somebody being powerful than other person. Of course, it can be in terms of structures of leadership or control, but the resources must belong to everybody else. So that then aspect of taking control to a few class of people then will bring us back to what Brother Kwame was referring to, either the liberals and the aspect of solipsism, where people feel that there is only them who should be in control of something else and not everybody else. That individualism, that's part of idealism or idealist mentality. So that's what I can share by now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Please, could you just put the page up a little bit? I wanted the last sentence, no longer depending in a crucial way on, is it a position of the gods? Where are we? Oh, now I'm lost. Depending in a, where is it? In a position of the gods. Oh, position of the gods in connection with agriculture. Okay. I think like you've all said, I see that there's a change coming from where it might have been rural based, where everybody helped each other slightly and nobody was necessarily above anybody as such, to it then becoming that people who had connections and money could make more money and become a hierarchy to others. I think that's what I'm seeing here as well. So
Okay.
that would be what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Ida. But basically, also analyzing it and putting it into context in African practice, where it says that the social milieu encourage him to insist on explaining nature in terms of nature. So is this example is trying to bring here is explanation of nature in terms of nature? And how
that's what Sister Myra was asking. Where is the nature bit to it?
but it's very clear because you see he's using two aspects here. He's using the olive thing. I'm using the example of an olive here. Which is
using an example of a what? Sorry, say that again. Oligarchy or what?
There's olive.
Oh, olives. Yeah, the olives. Yeah.
There is talks of particularly good olive harvest.
Yeah.
So it's trying to take control of what exists within the universe or within the universe, like the olive, and trying to see how this actually then makes the different aspect within the nature. As you see, he says that in the other aspect where we ended, he says that the unity of the universe then is actually, he says that the second revolution consisted in the belief that the unity of nature consisted not in its being, but in its materiality. Now, can this aspect appear to be the materiality of the nature? Maybe Brother Carrington, what do you think in regards to this?
Sorry, I missed that final part because of network. What did you say?
Now, I said, you see,
nature, yeah.
Yeah, so in the second aspect, when Thales brings the aspect of olive and how these controls of the classes exist within the society, which within the nature, then he says the other aspect in the last paragraph, that the second revolution consisted in his belief that the unity of nature consisted not in its being, but in its materiality. And this aspect, like now the olive harvest that is coming in, is part of the materiality of that nature that is trying to use to explain this concept of the nature in terms of nature.
Yeah. Oh, but as I said, I'm not sure I understand the final sentence very, very well. But what I can say about this is that what I think these paragraphs are trying to tell us is that the hierarchies that exist, even hierarchies of slave societies, in the case of Miletus, are entirely natural. There is no theological, supernatural, idealist reason for why a slave is a slave and a master is a master. There are entirely material reasons for this. And this is the basis of naturalism. That Miletus is able to operate as a slave society. Sparta is able to operate as a slave society entirely on the basis of their force and their wealth. And therefore, if this wealth and force is undermined, the ability of these city-states to operate as slave societies is also undermined. And therefore, any hierarchies we see in our society are entirely the product of natural forces. They are not theological reasons. That's how I understand it. Yeah.
Thank you for trying to bring that aspect, which then opens up the conversation further. That, of course, you see from the spiritual, the so-called idealist perspective, either the use of Bible, that God created or commanded the slaves to be obedient to the slave masters. You see how they try to bring it in that aspect. And that some people then were meant to be slaves and some people were meant to be slave masters and to be obedient. And now you're bringing the aspect that the control of resources within the society brought in this aspect of slavery in a natural process. Like, for example, there were people who were to carry the load, and there were people who were to be the owners of the same load or the same goods in the transport and traveling system. And this takes us back again to analyze our traditional society. Was there this aspect of relationship that appeared to be like slave relationship? And when I was reading this book by Dr. Iti on the African institutions, it appears that there were communities which could take over some people to their society. For example, even in natural current setup? Do you have a housemaid in your house today? Do you have a houseboy in your compound today? How can you explain that? Is it natural process that makes the person then look of some resources? But anyway, that's
Yeah,
after
but
the information that I'm getting. Brother Kwame, I think, is back. Brother Kwame?
yeah,
Yes, and before Brother Kwame comes in, I think I'd like to tackle that last sentence, because I think that it's saying that it's because of materiality. So because of what people have, that manages to then make them perhaps look down or make other people work for them. I think, to me, that's what it half says. So
Brother
we
Kwame,
keep
tell me,
losing that sentence.
we have been
yeah,
trying to analyze this.
yeah. I personally don't understand why that paragraph, last paragraph, is causing difficulty. I don't understand.
It's because we can't see
No.
clearly as well. It's almost hidden one way and then almost hidden the
Can
other
you
way.
go up? I can't see the screen. Sorry, let's
Down, you
see.
mean go down.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
Come down a bit more.
yeah,
Come
I'm
down.
just saying, brothers and sisters, that I do not see why that paragraph is causing difficulty. Can you go up? Are you reading the next paragraph of the social media?
No. We're going down. You have to go down for us to see that
Brother Kwame,
the last sentence.
we're in the next paragraph of social milieu, and
Okay.
Brother
Yeah, but,
Carrington was going to explain aspect where the first sentence says that he's trying to explain nature in terms of nature with the connection of slave labor here and the aspect of bringing the control of olive harvest that Thales is trying to explain here. What was he driving to at this particular moment when he talks of the Greek economics? And that's
okay.
Brother Pigeon, aren't we on the paragraph before?
No, we're in this paragraph below. Maybe you were not here when we read the paragraph below. We're explaining the paragraph from the social milieu.
Okay, well, I haven't shared my view on my thinking on the paragraph before.
No, I said that when you come, you'll be able now to share your thinking because you are out a bit.
I'm happy to move on if you are happy with what was shared.
No, we are waiting for you to share your thinking in the last paragraph that because you left, we will then move ahead to also connect the
it's fine. It's fine. Let's continue with where you are. And because where you are now, that paragraph now explains the paragraph before. Because you recall.
Excuse me. Can we just have a democratic thing on this? Because I think that what everybody just shared was the paragraph before. People in the class, please, can you say which bit you shared?
Sister
because
Ida.
I remember Sister Myra going on about the paragraph before.
Sister Ida.
Yeah.
What I did in the first session when Brother Kwame was here, we went around to everybody sharing their thinking in the past paragraph. Brother Kwame came in to explain some few things, even though he did not share his thinking in the first paragraph. Then I've read the second paragraph slightly, and we've started sharing where Brother Carrington has shared his thinking in the second paragraph, and Sister Mary has also asked the questions that she's not finding clearly in the second paragraph aspect of olive oil. So we are
nature, yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, then it's me. Sorry. Beg your pardon, everybody.
Brother Kwame, can you take over a bit to chair because of some few issues here?
Right. Okay. So I take it we've read the paragraph that commences with the social milieu. Yeah, that has been shared. Is that correct? And you're all sharing your thinking. So let me continue then. Who hasn't shared their thinking? Brother Carrington, I came and I heard you speaking. So I take it you have shared your thinking. Sister Ida, have you shared your thinking on this paragraph? Sister Ida, have you shared your thinking on this paragraph?
Sorry. I think I shared my thinking on the one before.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to on the one before, not on this one.
That's why I'm asking you to ask the rest whether they've shared their thinking on this one.
Okay, all right. So let me go to brother Sister Myra. Have you shared your thinking on this paragraph?
I've shared my thinking on the social milieu paragraph, but I'm with Sister Ida. I think the current paragraph is connected to the previous paragraph, and we all had so many questions about both of them. I think they're sort of connected.
Yes, definitely connected.
The question of nature.
coming
Yeah,
from
because
his
this
side.
paragraph, yeah, the social media paragraph is expounding on the previous paragraph. So yeah. So you shared your thinking. Okay, let's go to Brother Taiwo, if unless he's already shared his thinking. Brother Taiwo? Brother Taiwo?
I think he said he had just come off.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll come back to him. Brother David? Brother David, I know you had a question when I was on the train. Has your question been answered to your satisfaction? That's my first
Not
question.
yet. Yeah, not yet, because my question was based on the link between the two paragraphs to say whether, as we see the changes in the economy, does that justify one to be a slave society? I mean, say to see slave labor in practice now. It seems it's being justified, given from the conclusion of the previous paragraph of materiality, meaning that it is given that there will be slaves, there will be masters, as one has just said.
Right. So you think that, okay, so when I was on the train, this next paragraph where it talks about the slaves had not or been read yet. But I remember you had a question on the linkage between the paragraph before that and the paragraph on the history of Greek democracy. So I thought I was asking if that had been answered adequately. When you are saying that new questions have been raised in your mind. Okay. Right.
That was my previous question. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to watch the recording to remember your question, but I think that yeah. Okay, so all right, so you shared your thinking. Let's go to Brother Sam. Brother Sam.
Hi, if you don't mind, I'll just listen in the background because
Right.
because I can't read the presentation that you have. So I'm just
Okay.
listening to because
Listen.
I'm driving at the same time looking at it on my phone.
Oh,
So I'll just
yours is
listening
very
for now.
good.
Yeah,
Yours is very
yeah,
good. Just listening. Enjoy the
I'll just
conversation.
listening. But once I get the gist of what's being discussed completely, I'll definitely step in. Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. No problem.
Okay, then.
So
Thank you.
okay. So I think we've heard from everyone, and let me share the book again because I think Brother Pigeon has got off his internet. So I'm sharing it. Confirm that you can see the paragraph. Yeah. Yeah. Can you see the paragraph? Yeah.
Not yet. Yeah, now we can.
Yeah, it's a bit long, so I'll have to make it smaller. Then you can increase it yourself on your screen, so it's you can see it. So, right.
Can I answer, Brother Carrington?
Brother Carrington,
Yes.
are you there?
Yes.
Brother Carrington, was this what you shared your thinking on? The social, oh, it's gone.
Sorry, I'm just
the social milieu.
Is that what you shared your thinking on?
Yes, the social milieu, it's very long up to the
Yes.
along and across the Mediterranean. So that entire paragraph was what I think we were discussing for the next. This was the next paragraph. Yes.
Okay. So are we all happy with the paragraph before? Did you all share our thinking and we are all okay with that? So this paragraph has been read and we've heard from everyone. Is that correct, Brother Carrington?
No, not everyone. I think I had just started, and then someone else. I think Myra, if I'm not wrong,
Yeah,
Myra, and then yeah.
Right. Can you, Brother Carrington, is it okay to read the paragraph for us again?
Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah. The social milieu in which Thales lived encouraged him to insist on explaining nature in terms of nature. In Ionia, where he lived, political power was becoming entrenched in the hands of a mercantile class which had a vested interest in the development of nautical techniques and techniques of production. For it was on such techniques that their prosperity hinged. More so when their society later became more firmly based on slave labor. The Greeks, as Xenophon confirms in his Economics, came to regard mechanical arts with contempt. But in Thales' time, individuals, including philosophers, depended more on their own productivity for sustenance. Indeed, during one particularly good olive harvest, Thales astutely cornered the available olive presses in Miletus and subsequently hired them out at exorbitant rates.
Okay.
Owing to the change in the structure of society, whereby social political hegemony passed into the hands of a mercantile oligarchy, prosperity no longer depended in a crucial way on a propitiation of the gods in connection with agriculture. It depended on commerce with its ancillaries, whereby the Ionian products were marketed along and across the Mediterranean.
Okay, so Brother Pigeon, thanks for reading. And what was can you summarize what your contribution was? Just so I know where we are. Because
Yes.
it appears you're the only one who spoke at length on
Yes.
the part.
So I started by basically going through a little bit of a history here. So Ionia, this region in Greece, and Miletus specifically, are sort of coastal regions bordering the Mediterranean Ocean. The Mediterranean Ocean is an interesting place historically because it connects North Africa, parts of Africa, with Egypt, the Middle East, and parts of Southern Europe, right? There's a little, yeah. So those are the material conditions. Therefore, some Greek city-states, Greece was not a country, nor was it an empire in this period. There were city-states. Some city-states essentially end up becoming wealthy and powerful on the basis of trade. So this is specifically in the case of Miletus and later on Athens, for example. And in these specific city-states, this wealth that comes from trade concentrates in the hands of a very specific class, the merchant class, the traders. This uproots very long-held agricultural, theological, aristocratic social order and places it in the hands of the mercantile, the newly wealth-created merchant class. And it will repeat itself in Europe and Africa several times in history. What this does is encourage scholarly thought because of natural answers to natural questions or natural solutions to natural puzzles. And Thales specifically is a trader apart from being a philosopher. And he understands that there are only natural forces operating. And if there is a bumper harvest of olives, or if there is a sign of a bumper harvest of olives, if you go ahead, if you think 3 steps ahead and corner all production of olive wine, olive juices, whatever it is they were producing from the olive presses, if you corner all these olive presses, you will charge the farmers and traders exorbitant amounts for the use of the presses, and then you become wealthy. And this is what Thales is trying to do, showing that these are entirely natural.
All right, good. So the question then is, what is the point of that whole paragraph? Because remember that, let's all remember that the title of this paragraph, this chapter, is Philosophy and Society. That is the title of the paragraph. And why is that title important? It's important because we are talking about about African society. So remember that this book has been put together as part of the struggle for independence by the foremost freedom fighter in Kwame Nkrumah, Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. He's put together this text for us to understand where he came from philosophically. So if you want to create a post-colonial society, that society cannot be the same society that was there under colonialism. So post-colonial society will be a new society in which the imperialists and their colonial agents no more run the state, if you like. Yeah. So you are looking at, so at all times you are looking at the relationship between philosophy and society. Every society has a philosophy. Sometimes the philosophy is not articulated. And I have said before, sometimes it's not articulated because the ruling elites want to hide their real intentions. Okay? And they want to obfuscate and confuse everyone and pretend that what is happening in society is your fault. Or if only you were clever, or if only you had gone to school, or if only you had done this, if only you had a business, if only this, and so on and so forth. So they obfuscate and so on, and people don't realize that there is no society that does not have a dominant philosophy. Every society has a dominant philosophy. Okay, under colonialism, the dominant philosophy was the domination of Africans. Okay, even in their own land. Now, after you get independence and you are going to create a new society, that's the point. That society is a new society. You cannot create a new society using the same philosophy that dominated you, the philosophy that created your domination, the philosophy that says, even goes as far as saying that you're not even a human being. That kind of philosophy, will not liberate you. It will not unite you. It will not develop your country. Okay. Now let's remember that the countries that were colonizing Africa, that were dominating Africa, were themselves so-called liberal democracies. France, Portugal, England, the United Kingdom more broadly, yeah, Germany, all these countries at that time or at some point were so-called liberal democracies. Then came America after the Second World War and created an empire. So you have liberal democracies dominating others. In fact, as you know, America and Britain went around overthrowing democracies. Yeah, they went around and overthrew democracies. So the point here is that the paragraph we are reading is telling us that the way in which wealth is created in any society goes with a particular philosophy. And so what you see in that paragraph are two things. One, when before the mercantile class, before the merchants accumulated wealth, it was the farmers. People were farming. Yeah, people were farming. It was agricultural revolution meant that you could farm. You didn't now have to roam the forest looking for food, basing yourself on nature. But then you just went around, you farmed, and when you farmed, you got all you needed, or you reared animals, or you went fishing, and so on. So that is how people lived. And so the philosophy at that time was more of a religious philosophy, because when the rains don't come, you want to know why. Maybe there's a deity up there who is upset. That's why there are no rains. And that deity must be pacified. So then, because you were not worthy to be in front of the deity, because you were born in sin, so you are not worthy. So the a priesthood came up, and that priesthood were the people who approached God on your behalf, and they were those who did the sacrifices. They were those who led the prayers. They were, and so on and so forth. So what I'm saying is that there you have a way of life, the way in which we created wealth, or not enough wealth, through agriculture, going along with a particular philosophy, which is religious philosophy. Now, you have a new social milieu where wealth is now being accumulated, not through agricultural production, but through trading. And therefore, the philosophy where you pray to a god for rain did not matter anymore. That philosophy was abandoned. And then now comes a new philosophy. And this philosophy is saying that actually the universe is made up of water. Why water? Water, because merchants, when they go to trade on the seas, they go in ships, don't they? They go in boats and ships. And so the source of your wealth, the source of their wealth, if you like, is water. Because it is through the water that they are able to travel from one city state to another, trading. And that is how the new philosophy arose. So then Thales, who was one of them, is now saying that actually the universe is not rooted in the spirits and in their ideas, but that is rooted in water. And so you can see the relationship between philosophy and society. And that is the point of this whole chapter. This whole chapter, again and again, will point us to the relationship between philosophy and society. So when Brother Taiwo, for instance, as he was sharing with us, that he believes that Africa will remain balkanized, from what he didn't put it that way, but that is the implication of what he said, that he believes that Africa will remain balkanized. He is expressing a particular philosophical position. Although he has not articulated it, he calls it Pan-Africanism. So what it means is that there are brothers and sisters like Brother Taiwo, for whom Pan-Africanism means balkanization. Yeah, for them, Pan-Africanism means that Africa will remain these 55 separate territories, and so on and so forth, yeah. And even if there's no border, if the borders are removed, it will still not be one continental government. There'll be some kind of alliances and so on and so forth. The point I'm making is that in itself is a philosophical assumption. So that view of African society goes with a certain philosophy. And that's the point I'm making. And that's the point this paragraph continues to make. That however you conceive society, or whatever society is, there is always a philosophy that goes with that society. Sometimes it's not articulated, but look for it. It is there. It is always there. And that is our job as conscientists, to look for the relationship between the social milieu, which you can see as the basis of wealth accumulation in the society, and the philosophy. So that's what this paragraph is telling us. It's drawing our attention again to the relationship between a philosophy and a social milieu. And this paragraph has other things in it. There are other things in there which are interesting, which we'll pick up later on when we get to the other chapters. For example, what does social political theory mean? We'll come to that later, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So that in essence is that paragraph, and you can link that paragraph to the paragraph before and understand how Thales was a revolutionary in the sense that he was now proposing a new philosophy. So in fact, Thales was basically saying that let's put aside this religious priesthood. They are of no use to us. We make our wealth through trade. Yeah, that's how we make our wealth, and we don't need any god. We just went trade. So let's do away with these hierarchy. Yeah, that's what he's saying. The same way the Pan-Africanists who led the revolution, the Pan-African Revolution, also said, let's set aside this white priesthood, these white people or these Caucasians who are dominating us, running our countries. We didn't give them authority to run our countries. They never came to us and asked our permission to be the governors of our various colonial states. They just imposed themselves on us. You know, we never gave them that authority or that power. They just took it. They just took it. Just like that. So now we're going to set them aside and have a new society. And that's where the problem lies. If you're going to have a new society, then you must have a new philosophy. The problem we have today is that we have educated Africans holding on to liberalism, holding on to conservatism, holding on to Marxism, the European version, holding on to all forms of liberalism, like social reformism, and they want a new Africa. You know, how is that possible? But at least some of them are honest and say that, well, we don't really want a united Africa. We just want a balkanized Africa. At least they are honest. So we know where we stand with them, you know, and so on and so forth. Brother, Sister Mara, you have your hand up.
And also Brother Tayo.
Yes.
Okay, so please could you just explain how this paragraph connects to nature, coming from nature, and maybe also just touch a little on the last sentence of the previous paragraph about the unity of nature consisting not in its being but in its materiality.
Thank you. So, Brother Tao, I'll come to you after I answer Sister Mary's question. So materiality it's very easy to see and to see materiality in the way in which ordinary people interpret materialism. And we've said it again and again that materialism is a philosophy. It's a serious philosophy. Materialism as a philosophy has nothing to do with material wealth. It has nothing to do with how many houses you have, how many children you have, how many cars you have. That is not what we mean by materialism or materiality. So the universe, and this is the point again and again, and I keep reminding us that the point about consensusism is that when you are looking at the world, if you're looking at the world, the African world, if you like, don't start from society. Start from the universe in which you live. And then ask yourself, this universe in which I live, where does it come from? How do I explain it? And you find that there are only two main explanations. Either the universe has its source in spirits and their ideas, or it has its source in matter. So if you look at it that way, then it means that the unity of nature, by which we mean the universe, because nature here is the universe. So its unity subsists or is or continues to thrive because of the fact that it is rooted in matter. It's not because it is rooted in its being, which we can interpret here to mean its spiritual being. And that is not the basis. That's not the basis for nature. You recall that in the last paragraph, in the last chapter, we ended the paragraph by saying that our universe is a natural universe, and its basis is matter with its objective laws. So the natural universe has inherent laws in it, and those laws are objective. They don't depend on what anybody thinks or feels. Yeah, they are objective in the sense, in the same sense as, for example, gravity is objective. It's there. You can't. It doesn't matter what you think. I'm just looking at the time now, and it's 20:53. So the paragraph we read before this paragraph, Sister Myra, basically summarizes the Thales position. And the Thales position, what Thales was trying to say was that let's overthrow the priests. If I want to put it bluntly, all he's saying is, look, let's overthrow these priests because we don't need them. Because our wealth doesn't come from the ground. It doesn't come from agriculture. Our wealth comes from buying and selling. Yeah, so that is where our wealth comes from. Therefore, we need a new philosophy. And this philosophy doesn't include the priests praying to some deity and so on. That's basically what Thales is saying. Then you ask the question, well, where is Thales getting this idea from? And the answer is that Thales is getting the idea from the social milieu in which he lived. What is that social milieu? Well, that social milieu is the situation where you are making money from trading, from buying and selling, from being a merchant. And then all those who are buying and selling become what they call the mercantile class. So they are now very wealthy and they wield political power. And that's the thing with money. Once you have a lot of money, you can also have political influence. So with their money comes influence. And so they have so much money now they don't want to work. So they want to get other people to do their work for them. But there was no market where you sell your labor power in the same way as we have today, where you go, you look for a job, and then you sign a contract and say, I'm going to give you my time, 8 hours a day, I'll work for you, and then you pay me a salary. It didn't exist at the time. In those days, what you had was, if you want people to work for you, you go to war, you conquer them, you make them slaves by force. Basically, in a nutshell, that was it. And so on. So that is what they knew at the time. And so what these guys did, now that they had a lot of money, they had slaves, and the slaves were working for them, and they had all these buildings and so on. So they didn't need the priests. That's in the priests. And that is what basically this paragraph is saying. You will recall that we looked at the previous paragraph where in Europe, the same thing happened. During the European Renaissance, the scientists became powerful. They overthrew the church, through their work, their scientific work. They overthrew the church because the church was saying that the earth is the center of the universe. The scientists said, no, the sun was the center of the universe. There was a fight. They overthrew them. And then scientific knowledge, scientific understanding of our universe became the thing to do. So now there was no place for those priests and those priests who were praying. They didn't need them because now you can trade, you can farm, you can do this based on scientific knowledge. So you didn't need God anymore. You didn't need the priests. So something similar happened. You look at Africa today, you see that the vast majority of Africans have no access to scientific knowledge and technology. So what do? They go to the mosque, they go to the church, they pray and pray and pray. People even go to church for the whole week. Every evening there is a Sunday event. There is a church event. Every evening, people spend hours and hours in church. That is a situation that Thales and them faced before the mercantile class arose. But the point I'm making is that this paragraph and this chapter will continue to draw our attention to the relationship between society and philosophy. Why? Because if you want a new African society, then you need a new philosophy. And that new philosophy must correspond with the kind of society that you want to build. That is the essence of what we are reading, and that's what we come across again and again in this paragraph. Brother Taiwo. Sorry, before Brother Taiwo. Sister Myra, have I even attempted to answer the question?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Brother Taiwo.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you, comrades. So I just wanted to take a moment to perhaps clarify a misunderstanding. I do think that all of us here, we do care about the future of Africa. It's the reason why we're congregating, even though we seem to be approaching the problem and the solution from different perspectives. One of the things I wanted to share
Sorry, Brother Taiwo, before you continue, we in this class share the same perspective. I know you've just joined us. Our perspective is philosophical materialism. So that's the perspective we share. We listen to other people, but I just want to clarify, we don't share different perspectives. We share this perspective. That is the basis of the philosophy. So Nkrumah called it the philosophy and ideology of decolonization, with particular reference to the African Revolution. So I just thought I'd clarify that. Please carry on.
Yeah, thanks for the clarification. What I wanted to share was that I've also done independent studies, cross-country studies, and I think what I wanted to share with us for us to consider, which should be something that we can logically examine, is what is the role of political consensus amongst a people that are being governed. In other words, even though we have perhaps a belief in the right political governance for Africa, what is the role of African people themselves in terms of their consensus, political consensus? I ask this question because we have to examine that. Are we looking for a people that believe that this is the right framework for Africa, and then what is their ability to impose that framework on Africa, that political framework? Okay. And I ask this question because we do have those 54 African countries today that are mostly terribly governed. And if in each country we cannot yet achieve good governance, what makes us believe that good governance is possible in one united African government? This is a very difficult thing for me to understand, because, and that's why I asked the question, what is the role of consensus, political consensus amongst the people being governed? What I've found in my when I examine the data across many countries, many societies, what we find is that there's a correlation between good governance, okay, and what is called ethno-linguistic fragmentization, or in other words, there's an inverse relationship. Good governance tends to be more possible where a people have low ethno-linguistic fragmentization. In other words, there's a majority ethnic group in that society, so the consensus is easier. So Africa is very diverse. So the solution, the proposal to unwind these colonial borders, that is termed as balkanization, assumes that, because I think there's a philosophy that believes that the colonialists are able to take advantage of Africans because if we have smaller countries. But when we look at other societies, other continents, okay, China, for instance, has the Han Chinese. The Han Chinese, this is the Mandarin-speaking Chinese people. They constitute 91% of China. Okay, so in that sense, China has very low ethno-linguistic fragmentization. Of course, they do have a communist party, but even without a communist party, okay, consensus will be easier. We find this pattern everywhere. Everywhere there is a majority ethno-linguistic group, there tends to be more stability, better social capital, more political consensus, and better governance. So this information is out there. We cannot dismiss it. And the idea that we should create that consensus, society with consensus in Africa, such that the people themselves can hold their own leaders accountable, elect the right leaders, and then alliances across African countries or nations can achieve the solution we're looking for. This is the way the EU is, okay? And I'm saying that we should not dismiss those things. As we're all trying to achieve the solution for Africa, we should not dismiss them. I just want to advance those things. Thank you.
Yeah, Brother Tao. Yeah, thank you very much. Like I said to you, we here love to hear the thinking of others. I mean, thinking. Yeah, we all have a right to think, and we should listen. We don't dismiss the thinking of other people. We respect, as Africans, we respect other Africans. We respect their right to think for themselves. We may disagree, but yes, you have a right to think. I think, Brother Kyle, I think it would be best for you to, if you have a presentation, we'll give you one of our Saturdays. Come and do a presentation for us, and on your position, and so on. Yeah, let's come and do your presentation for us, because Saturdays are when we look at the issue that you've just raised, because we are trying to have a conversation around the unification of Africa, and so we like to hear from different people, and we want to hear from those who think that it's not possible, like you. Yeah, let's hear what you have to say. We don't agree with well, I say we. The consortium doesn't agree with your position. We hear you, but we don't agree with your position. I mean, you could argue that the reason England left the EU was because of the monarchy, because they don't want an ever closer union. Not that it's not possible, just that they didn't like it, and so on and so forth. So yeah, so we are happy to have that discussion, and the idea that because nobody has done it, Africans can't do it, for me is unacceptable. Just because it hasn't been done in the past doesn't mean it can't be done, and so on and so forth. So yeah, so brother Taiwo, are you happy to do a presentation for us?
Oh yeah, definitely. I would love to share what I've learned. Thank you.
Excellent. Please put your email or your link, how we can contact you in the chat. And Brother Pigeon is not here, but I'll pick it up and send it to him so he can contact you, and then we arrange. So we normally have these discussions on Saturdays. Thursdays are normally for philosophy. Sorry? Brother Pigeon, are you back? Brother Pigeon, excellent. So contact Brother Taiwo and collect his contact so we can arrange for him to do a presentation for us. Yeah, I think it's very crucial that we hear from everyone, because if we have to convince our brothers and sisters, then maybe people like Brother Tawa, those we should convince. Just because the chicken is fed every Christmas doesn't mean that the chicken will be fed next year again when Christmas comes. Its head might be chopped off to make dinner for the family. So the past is not a perfect predictor of the future. And so that's a philosophical and scientific discussion we can have. Yeah, let's bring it on. So yeah, so brother Pigeon, contact Brother Taiwo and let's get this discussion going. You know, it's a beautiful topic he's raised. Beautiful topic he's raised, and he's done a lot of studies from what he's saying. So yeah, let's hear it. Excellent. Brothers and sisters, the time is 9:06, and as you know, we normally finish at 9. Personally, in fact, it's a position of the class that we don't go over our time. And so I'd like to apologize on behalf of the class that we've gone 7 minutes above our stipulated time. It's unprofessional of us. We'll do better to stick to the 9 o'clock and keep to the time that we have advertised. So I know some of you haven't spoken yet. Brother Joseph, for instance, hasn't said anything. But let's meet on Saturday. Brother Pigeon, talk to us about Saturday. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Brother Kwame, and thank you for joining us. Indeed, we had not arrived on a complete topic for that Saturday, but having this open conversation where we link this free talk, like what Brother Taiwo is proposing on his perspective, it will be a good point to interact on perspectives so that we have an open conversation in direction to see how we balance all these forces and dialectics so that you have just an open, smooth conversation on sharing ideas. So yes, it's possible, Brother Taiwo, if you will be available, and I know you've shared maybe your contact, we will contact you so that we can have an open conversation in regards to this unification. Our purpose is purely on unification. Anything revolving that, we are okay to discuss it. So that's what I can say as far as possible. So let's just expect an open conversation this Saturday from the same 7 p.m. UK time, so that we re-examine this and also actually put into force what's our thinking and how we have to move together as a people. On Thursday, we'll be back to our class. But Brother Kwame, you can maybe come in.
Yeah, Brother Peach, are you saying that since you haven't done the poster for this Saturday, that Brother Taiwo can speak? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm saying you can come in for this conversation so that we don't keep it longer.
Oh, okay. So you are happy that we organize tomorrow, no, not tomorrow, the day after, this Saturday for Brother Taiwo to do his presentation. Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
Yeah.
and any other members who feel to have their own perspectives.
Okay, Brother Taiwo, are you not prepared, but are you free this Saturday to do a presentation for us?
Yes, I would love to. I would love to come and share what I've learned. Yes.
Wonderful. Yeah. In that case, Brother Pigeon, I have sent you Brother Taiwo's number. I think it's a Nigerian number from what I can see. So
Okay.
please contact him. I've shared it in your. I've sent you directly on WhatsApp. So
Okay.
contact him so that you can arrange. And then, so Brother Taiwo, you give information to Brother Pigeon. You produce the poster, and then we'll share it around. So that people can come and listen.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah, Sister Ida, I take it you are happy with that, yeah? Because Sister Ida is one of our
Sounds very good, and it's no use keeping it for another time when it's present, and yeah, so it'll be good. Thank you, Brother Tao. Looking forward to it.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right, then, everyone.
yeah.
Any final comments?
Yeah, no comment. I've been trying to get in touch with Comrade Pigeon, and I'm not able to. I'm not getting a response via WhatsApp. I don't know what's the situation. Could you go with me?
Yeah, because of the blackout. There's a
Okay.
lot of floods in Kenya and blackout. So, Brother Pigeon, and he can speak for himself. Brother Pigeon, speak for yourself.
Yeah, there was a national blackout in the whole country due to power issues and floods. So I'm back.
So please get in touch with Brother Joseph.
Brother Tao is talking about. You can't even maintain your life. You want a united Africa. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. No. Thank you all. Have a wonderful evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you are, and see you all on Saturday for what will I think be an interesting discussion on the unification of Africa. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Thank you, comrade. Good night.
Bye-bye. Good night. Good
Good
night.
night.
Bye.
Good night.
Night. Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Yeah. Brother Pigeon, I noticed. I think the recording stopped. Is that correct? The recording stopped.
The recording is on progress. It's not stopped.
Oh, it hasn't. Okay. Well, can you stop it now then? And have a nice evening. We'll talk.
Am I the host?
Oh, sorry. Let me make you the host so you can stop it, because you are the one that. Hold on. Where is it? Where is Brother Pigeon?
Thank you.
Brother Pigeon, I don't think am I the host? Okay, let's see. Okay, well, okay. Let me stop the video. I think it's a stop video. Have I stopped it?
Yes. You're the host.
Have I stopped it?
Yes.
Okay, it didn't.
No, the recording is not yet stopped.
Okay, how do you stop the recording? Let me see.